A big g'day and welcome to the RDFNL Round 9 preview. Yeendy with you again here with the great man Shaun as we're getting ready for a massive weekend in the RDFNL, mate.
We are indeed, mate. I'm starting to get excited about this because this is going to be a really big round, and in particular there's a game that you and I are going to watch together that is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be Romsey v Macedon. Now, how many people would have penciled this in at round 9, halfway stage of the season? This is going to be the match that we're all going to be talking about.
It is indeed. It's basically the top of the ladder match. The winner of this goes out right on top of the ladder at the halfway mark of the season. And full credit to both of these sides because obviously Macedon's come from the clouds this year and they've been the big improver. But a lot of people were tipping Romsey just to slip back a little bit, even after the first couple of rounds as well. They lost round 1, obviously, or round 2 in their flag unfurling against Rupertswood. And they had a bit of ground to make back, but they've done that. They've steadied themselves and now they've set themselves up for a really good second half of the year. And if they can win this, then who's to say that they can't go back to back?
Exactly right, and no mind if we mentioned that that loss there to Rupertswood on Anzac Day, horrendous conditions. Yeah, those games could have gone either way.
It was biblical that day.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic day for the other competition. But this day in itself, we look back to this fixture last year. Romsey were decked out in pink, and they were decking out, kicking plenty of goals. They won that game by 25 goals, I think, to that effect. So, what a turnaround.
Yeah, and when we spoke about it before, I recall watching these two sides in a final up at Kilmore a couple of years back as well, and it was a similar margin. Romsey just absolutely wiped the floor with them, and the turnaround's been fantastic. Full credit to everyone at the Macedon Footy Club for what they're doing this year, the players that they've brought in, and it's going to be a really, really good game of footy, and it's tough to pick a winner straight here, just thinking about it off the top of the head.
Which way do you think it'll go, mate?
Look, to be honest, I'm not sure. Romsey at home is always difficult to pick against, but the form that Macedon's been in at the moment, apart from that late lapse against Diggers Rest the other week, they've been giving you no reason at all not to tip against them. So Marcus Kenny hopefully can come back into the side because that'll just add another element to the spectacle that is this game. And if he comes back in, then it just means that Romsey have to find that extra defender for him. Knowing Dino, he'll prepare either way. He'll prepare for Marcus. He'll probably go out there preparing for Marcus to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless of what happens, he'll make sure that he's got someone set for that task early on in the week and that they're ready to go once tomorrow comes. So it'll be very interesting to see this one. Look, I might leave my tip because I hear I'm might be making a bit of a cameo appearance on the radio tomorrow, mate. So
absolutely, mate.
I might just leave it for the 100.7 Highlands FM listeners to leave my tip until about 1:59 p.m. tomorrow.
Good on you, mate. I'm going to be bold and back the Cats because essentially, look, if they get the win here, it's going to be great for the competition. We know how good Romsey are. We know how well the Cats are starting to bounce back. For this competition, Macedon get up. Romsey are still going to be out there at the business end of the season. We could see these guys battle off in finals. I want to see Macedon really establish themselves as a genuine premiership contender because they've only really had one competitive game this year in terms of those in the top 6, and that was Diggers Rest. So. Macedon get the win here, then look out, the Cats are up and about.
It is a big tester for Macedon. It's going to be really good to see where they're at this weekend.
Speaking of other close games this weekend, we're going to keep an eye on Wallen v Melton Centrals, and we spoke about it earlier in the week about how disappointing the Centrals have been over the last couple of weeks, but they've got the ability to come back, and the Pies, they're playing at their home deck. They're 44 points up at half-time. You'd expect them to go on and win, and you'd think that Trevor Frost will be getting there trying to rev up the boys something special this week.
And look, you think that there'll be a bit of that from both teams in this game because you're right. Trevor Frost will be. He'll have gotten into the guys after the game last week. There's no doubt about that, and he'll want them to make a big statement, especially early this week. He'll want them to come out and hit Centrals hard. But on the flip side, Centrals will have set themselves for this game. Absolutely no doubt about that. They'll have penciled this in as a winnable game a few weeks back. Glenn Hopkins will have his boys ready to go for this one. If Nathan Richardson can stay in the form that he's in, I've seen him with my own eyes cut up Wallen in a game recently as well. Absolutely taken.
Was it round 1 last year?
Round 1 last year out at Green Hill Reserve. It was his first game before Central.
I remember you rang me that day, mate, and you said this boy Richo, he had over 30 touches and kicked so many goals.
I think the words I used were get around him.
Yeah.
I think that's what I used. But look, another hard game to tip because you can see reasons for both, but you can see reasons to tip against both as well. So when you're in doubt, you go with the home field advantage, and I'm going to go with Wallen this week.
I'm going to have to go with the Centrals. have that feeling that they're going to want to bounce back what happened against Romsey. And again, the Richo man, certainly be the Richo show, but I'll be looking at Rex Hickman to step up and maybe kick 5 or 6 as well.
Which he needs to do. Let's be honest, he needs to do that because he's come into the league with some big raps this year, hasn't really delivered on them too much as yet. He's had some good games, but he needs to be able to just take a game by the scruff of the neck, and this could be it for him.
Probably the best game he had was the game where he didn't kick any goals, and that was for the RDFNL when he was playing further up the ground and set up the play further down the field. Other big games, Broadford v Rupertswood. Now we're talking about matches.
This is a great game.
You've got Broadford and Rupo. Rupo have yet to have the bye this year, so they've still got the 4 points in the bag ahead of them. Now, if Broadford get the job done, they're in the top 6. There's only a percentage separating these two at the moment.
Yeah. And look, this is a game we spoke about earlier in the week that Broadford are going to get one of these top 6 teams one of these days soon, and I reckon this could be it. Mind you, Rupertswood going to bring everything they have for this one because it's a big milestone for the club as well. Leigh Brennan playing his 200th game this weekend. Congratulations, Leroy. Fantastic achievement, and look, Rupertswood will be up for that. There's absolutely no doubt, but geez, Broadford were good last week. They very nearly pinched that one against the Sunbury Kangaroos, and I reckon they can do it this week.
Yeah.
I'm on the Broadford bandwagon. I reckon they can get over the line. Reece Smith is not going to make Leroy's day very easy at all. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He's as unsung as you'll find, but when you're talking about best defenders in the league, he's probably one of the first names you pencil in.
Well, considering the, I guess, Broadford's position in the competition sort of last year, they were undefeated for most of the year. They had bounced back from the off-field and come back on the on-field situation, really thrown everything at this season. Yep. It's going to be important for them. Important for the town is probably what we're all hoping for. They get up, then they're starting to talk finals. The businesses, the spectators, the supporters really getting around them. And we know that Rupertswood are, again, an all-class side. So this is probably, again, more about Broadford getting the job done.
Which I think they can. It's not going to be easy for them, not by any stretch of the imagination. I've got absolutely no doubt that there's every chance I could be sitting there Saturday night fielding calls from Rupertswood fans saying you're an idiot for picking against us. And I'll quite happily wear that because I know that Rupertswood are a quality side, but I just feel that Broadford are there at the moment. They're ready to just take one and take one game and just really announce themselves, and I think this could be it.
I'm going to go be bold and say the 200 gamer Leroy will kick 6 goals and
stepping it up here this week over at Rupertswood. We're here with the 200 gamer here at Rupertswood. Leigh, Brennan, thanks for joining us, mate. You're getting a bit excited ahead of the weekend and the achievement?
Yeah, it's not something to look forward to, but as again the cliche goes, you just another game. But yeah, it's a nice little thing to have on the resume.
Fantastic, mate. And tell us a little bit about your time at Rupers when you started as a junior and how it's sort of unfolded since then.
Yeah, so I've been here since basically I was 10 years old. I've played all the way through from under 10s all the way through to senior footy. Had 1 year off in 2008. I went over a season, played cricket, and so that's basically played all the way through.
And how did you go in that season of cricket, mate?
Yeah, it was good experience. So I played cricket in South Yorkshire for a year. For a season, and I loved it. One of the best things I've ever done in my life. Yeah.
So got to do it while you're young, as they say.
That's it. Yeah.
Now, have you enjoyed the time sort of coming in from I think the amateurs through to the RDFL? What was the transition with the club that you sort of experienced at the time?
Well, I think we seemed that we lost a lot of players, and that was amateurs. You don't pay players. The travel was a massive, big thing as well. We go across to Mazenod in Waverley, Peninsula, Old Carey, things like that. And then having a young side, as we always do here at Rupo, it's hard to get them to travel all the way across and get them lists and things like that. So that was a big factor. But since coming into the RDFL, we couldn't be happier, I think. So having a local rivalry, playing against some old teammates in other sides, you're home within 20 minutes of most games. You can't ask for anything more, really, and the club loves it.
Fantastic. What was it like when you started off as a junior at the club, 10 years old, still playing with the Riddle District Junior Footy League back in those days? Still a lot of numbers around the club back then? Yeah, no,
it's always been one of those clubs that's had a lot of juniors. The ground was around the other way, so I've seen that happen as well. So, it's always been a popular club with the local primary schools and with Salesian College as well, so it gets a good influx of players every year because of that. So it's always been a massive club, and you see it now with our juniors and our under 18s, under 16s. They're massive, so it's a massive club.
I have to ask with the ground, what actually happened? Why did it change dimensions, so to speak?
I think it was facing east-west, and that sort of didn't really work out. The sun in the eyes and things like that. And then with this stadium being built, that was coming along in the plans as well, and they sort of, because this all used to be a car park, so they've moved that around, and that's as good as guess I can get. Yeah,
that's fair. I remember playing, I think I played one game here as a junior, it might have been a final, and then coming here, back when you guys jumped in the competition, I was sort of thinking, well, hang on, what's going on here?
Right, that's it, yeah. So,
You've had some pretty good teammates along the journey. You've played footy with your brother. What was that like?
Yeah, that's probably one of the highlights. To get to play senior footy and a good couple of years consistent senior footy with Ben was fantastic. Probably one of the smartest players I've played with. He's just one of those team men. He'll always do a team job. So, awesome experience to play with my brother.
What's happening with him this year, mate?
He's playing at St Albans. Yep. So he's got Lockie Badley and Matt Quigley down there, so which are two of his best mates. And he's decided to go down there for a year and play. And he's fully fit, and he's giving him no trouble, and he's enjoying it, so which is the main thing.
Excellent. How are you enjoying it this year? You guys got so close last year in the semi-finals. Obviously a bit of redemption this year.
Yeah, so big disappointment. We finished the regular season off really strongly last year, finishing second. But then to go out in straight sets is really disappointing, and it wasn't up to the standard that we expect. So it hasn't been dwelled on this year. We don't talk about it. It's just something about rebuilding and going again this year and building so that at the end of the year we can actually win a final in the RDFL. We haven't done that yet, so that's one major goal. And obviously we want to go deep into the finals this year and give it a good shake.
Now you've had a lot of highlights throughout your career, obviously playing with your brother Ben. From a match performance, was there any particular game that you remember that stood out for you individually?
Yeah, a couple. A couple of times in the Ammos, kicking a few bags of 10. That's always a highlight individually. Team-wise, you can't go past the premiership in 2009 against Fitzroy. We had, I think the only other player that's still currently playing here now that played in that was Todd Polzak.
Yep.
And he was a young 17, 18-year-old. So, we're basically the two veterans of the last premiership side here, and that's probably one of the big ones.
What was the feeling of winning that premiership as a club?
Elation, I think. We'd gone a few years winning, going through the season, losing only a handful of games, and I think for about 6 years in a row, no less than a prelim final. Then we lost a couple of grand finals, so to finally get one as a senior footballer was huge, and one of the best feelings you can possibly get.
You must have been pretty wrapped as well, because you'd only had the year off with cricket the year before, and then coming back and won a premiership, thinking, how easy is this?
Yeah, well, that was it. And then we come back into it, and it was one of those things where the feeling around the club, we knew we were going to win it, and we knew that, but no one ever actually spoke about it. It was just one of those feelings at the club that we knew that we had the cattle on the track, and we were going to give it a good shake, and the boys did everything possible that year, so that was good.
But back on the RDFL level, what do you think has probably been the most enjoyable game you've experienced playing senior footy in this competition?
There's probably two. The win against Romsey this year, being the reigning premiers, of course, and hadn't lost a game. I know it was wet and cold night, but for the boys to stick at the task for the day and knock off a quality opposition was huge. But then also the local rivals, knocking off Sunbury for the first time last year was massive. As we've spoken about a couple of times with the young players we've got, and they all stuck to their task, and that's a big one. A lot of respect for Sunbury. A lot of blokes have played footy with as well. So to finally to knock them off was good as well. So.
Fantastic, and obviously from an off-field perspective as well, we've touched on it in the past. Some of the great work you've been doing with your now fiancée, with CF. Obviously, a very big success from your point of view personally.
Yeah, no, it's massive. So the last 3 years we've raised with the help of the playing group is, I think it's close to $40,000. So the work that Claire's been able to do behind the scenes and the support we've got is fantastic. This year, unfortunately, we can't do the big fundraiser just because of other commitments, but we're still going to be doing fundraising on the day against Macedon. We're still going to be wearing the purple uniform again, so just a bit different this year, just to make it unique for the year. And still be rattling tins. We'll have some auction items and promote it through Facebook again. So we'll still do that, but just not with the big fundraiser at the night.
And that'll be here as well, I think, that game?
Yeah, so 4th of July against Macedon. And Macedon are great supporters of the day and the cause, obviously, with the Beatson name being pretty important in the league and with Macedon. So, we appreciate the support that they give each year as well.
Fantastic. When you're running out on Saturday, just another game to you, or will the 200-game milestone feel something special?
Definitely something special. Only one other player Nathan Webb, who's done it and played every 100 or 200 games at Rupo.
Yep.
So pretty special to do that with one of your best mates. So,
and he's the bloke that stitched you up as well, getting the word out to everyone.
Yeah, he told me that Friday night at the dinner. So I'll have to spike his drink or something. So we'll do that. But so it'll be pretty special. And but once you get onto the ground, it's just not a game of footy. So hopefully I get a kick.
Sensational, mate. Congratulations and have some fun out there. And best of luck with it.
Speaking of getting the job done, Kilmore v the Sunbury Kangaroos, going to be a very intriguing clash because one Chris Tarrant's going to be lining up for the Blue Boys this weekend. And
yes.
The question is, how will the great man go?
Look, it's going to be tough. Obviously, we saw it with Brendan Favola at Woodend last year, where Woodend weren't travelling all that well as well. Fev came in, tried to do a fair bit, but he just didn't have that delivery from the midfield. Chris Tarrant played a game earlier this year in another league as well. Kicked a couple of goals early, but then they had to throw him back because they needed to get him behind the ball and kind of stem the opposition's flow. In the end, the team that Chris played for that day drew the game against all odds.
Yeah.
And it could be... The thing is, there's more of a gap between the team he's playing for this week and their opposition. Sunbury Kangaroos going along very nicely at the moment. They'll have some backup plans for Chris Tarrant. Don't you worry about that. Chris Meacham will be preparing for that. Dan Gregory's probably licking his lips at the thought of taking on a former AFL forward and just maybe giving him a bit of a bath. But look, Kangaroos will win this, Tarrant or no Tarrant. It's going to be a great day for Kilmore, though. Full credit to them for the initiative of going out and getting a name like this to drag people onto the ground, drag some money into the club as well. But look, I just feel it'll help them on field for a bit, but it won't get them over the line.
And I guess Dan Gregory will be licking his lips, but the reality is they've got to get the ball down there. Correct. So that's certainly a big step. And of course, Chris will be part of a sports panel earlier on in the day where the great man, Fabulous Phil,
hasn't been seen in the Ballarat area since about August last year, so good to see he surfaced up in Kilmore.
Yeah, exactly. Lovely spot over there. Great part of the world over there. Now, this is going to be another big game. Rockbank v Riddle. And Riddle, again, showed some great poise last week.
Elimination final rematch from last year, if I'm not mistaken.
That's,
Rockbank played Riddle in the first final.
So, the Sunbury Kangaroos. Yep, that's right. And
the memory's not bad after all.
Yeah, ticking along all right, mate. But obviously, they're different positions for these two sides.
They are, but Rockbank will still go in thinking they're a chance in this game because obviously, whilst they were disappointing last week, they are a side that can run on confidence. If they get going, they'll really think that they're a chance. They need to, because I know the other day we said that Rockbank can't play finals, and I still believe that that's the case. If they win this game, though, they'll give themselves a sniff. But you just think that Riddle, in much better form at the moment, more attacking options up forward. Brian Ruffles kicking goals. Jimmy Nolan's giving them a really good target up forward as well. I think that Riddle will be too strong.
Exactly, but every time you head out of the NKO reserve, it's never an easy day at the office. You could be the top side versus the bottom side. It's never going to be a one-sided affair. It rarely is. And Rockbank have had the runs on the board against Riddle. I think it was at 2010 or 2009. Going back a long time ago, it was top versus bottom of the ladder, and Rockbank got the job done.
And even last year, there was only 3 goals in it in that elimination final as well. Rockbank weren't far from the mark at all. Yes, it's a different side playing against Riddle this year, but it'll still give them a bit of confidence.
It should definitely do so, mate. Now another game, the final game to keep an eye out on, and over the last couple of weeks, the way the scenery for this game has sort of changed. The Hawks have gone on to record a couple of wins. They travel to Lancefield in what promises to be another blockbuster game.
Yeah, it will be, and you're right. 3 weeks ago, we would have looked at this and said how far Lancefield, but now with Woodend Heskett, especially with last week coming back from a 44-point half-time deficit and getting over the line. They'll go in with that, and if they can take that, they'll take that confidence into the first half of this week's game. Lancefield need to be careful. It's a danger game for the Tigers. We talked with them earlier in the week about maybe making some noise up the pointy end of the ladder and towards the finals later on in a couple of weeks if they get some games, but upset some teams. But to do that, they've got to make sure they win the bread and butter ones, and this is one of those. It's a real danger game. If they don't come prepared, they could get a nasty surprise.
Yeah, definitely right there, mate. And obviously, John Kent is the key forward there. The Hawks need to be able to shut him down, but what we saw from them last week is they probably had 5, 6, 7 options and go forward and kick goals. So they're sort of lacking that designated forward. They're really starting to build Nathan Stevens into more of that tall attacking forward role. But he did spend a lot of time in the ruck for Romsey seniors and reserves last year. So to drift forward now and be that prominent big man, I could see that he could be set for a big day.
Yeah, look, I'm tipping Lansfield in this one. John Kent's going to be hard to stop. He's been hard to stop for most teams this year, so Woodend will find it difficult against him. But they did a good job against Sam Rexepi last week, so they've got the defenders there that they know that they'll have the confidence to take down a key forward. If they can keep Kent to 2 goals or less, Woodend are a really big show in this one, but I've just got a feeling that this could be a day where Kent could get away from them.
Yeah, definitely right there, mate, especially in front of a big home crowd. Well, don't forget the radio games this weekend.
Yes.
We obviously put the hype into Chris Tarrant's game. Well, we neglected to remember that the boys at OKRFM will be broadcasting that one there. It's going to be a big day for them and the Blues, so it's going to be huge. And we'll be I'll be joined by this knucklehead over at Romsey Park, on Team 100.7 Highlands FM, and we look at blockbuster games. This is going to be the one to see.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. Got the call a couple of weeks back saying if we're a bit short this week, so if you're in the area, come along. So I thought it'd be absolutely great. Did the game last year and absolutely loved it, even though we didn't actually get on air that day. So hopefully you can pull some strings and make sure that we hear some radio time this week. But
that's right, mate.
No, very much looking forward to it. Obviously good to see some familiar faces from both sides, and looking forward to calling the game again. It'll be like riding a bike, I hope, just straight back into it.
Absolutely, mate. And with the training wheels off, just roll along beautifully. Well, guys, we look forward to seeing you out there and get along to the netball as well. There's going to be some massive games. In fact, the A-grade netball over at Romsey.
The one's going to be pretty good. I'll be watching that for a bit, don't worry.
Yeah, that is going to be huge behind us in the marquee. So make sure you get out and enjoy the footy and the netball. On behalf of the team, we'd like to look forward to seeing you guys out there.